forget. And yeah, just to say to everyone, thanks for coming. It's been a while since we did the last one for various reasons, as usual. But we do have a few things planned now for the next couple months. Obviously, Andy tonight. Shelby, who's just joined, has got some tricks up her sleeve, I believe, for the next couple months. I was thinking maybe we could do in December, we could just do something like a bit of a social, like nothing major, but just meet up. Now we're allowed to go to pubs and stuff, just meet up and have a beverage or two just to say hello and happy holidays and whatnot. And then Shelb, I think you've got a couple of people potentially lined up for New Year, January, Feb. Do you want to give us a sneak peek whilst you're there?
I've got the lovely Matt Turner joining us. He runs the local Southampton meetup. He also is part of John Smart's new Sooner, Smarter, Safer squad, but he's got a talk which he won't. He's keeping it secret because he said it's still a work in progress. But he's going to join us January. I've got the lovely Joanna Rothman joining us in February to give us a talk around agility and human beings, and Diana Larson, fingers crossed, I'm trying to pencil her in for March.
Awesome. We'll hold that thought because I am thinking that we need to sort of get back to it at some point. So I'm thinking that if all goes to plan and there's no massive outbreak of something over Christmas, I was kind of targeting March as potentially our first face-to-face meetup again. So obviously it's been difficult with numbers and stuff as we've been remote. Those of you who were members of the group back pre-pandemic, when we used to be in Little Man Coffee, we were getting like 30, 40, 50 people some months for swag. So obviously we'd love to get it back to that sort of capacity. So I think if we plan it a couple months in advance, gives people a chance to sort of get back into the routine of it. So at the moment I'm targeting March, April, something like that for the first face-to-face swag in what will have been over 2 years at that point. So we'll get something fun lined up speaker-wise, and it'd be good to get some pizza again and some beverages and whatnot. So yeah, we'll get some details out.
Well, I can always see if Diana, we can do a double in February because we're nice.
Yeah. Of course, or maybe she'd like to come down. We can pay some expenses and get her down potentially.
Oh yes, that should be amazing. Her and Esther Derby.
That'll be a good one to come back to. So yeah, that's the plans. So if people are keen for a bit of nothing major in December, like I said, no talks or anything, but just a quick get together, have a pint or two, maybe a bit closer to Christmas, and then we can get back into the swing of things then in the new year. So tonight, Andy, I think as he's already given a brief intro, but many thanks to Andy for joining us tonight, and my apologies for the tardiness of making sure he was actually on the bill. But thank you for being very flexible when you didn't know it was going ahead tonight, mate. Those who don't know Andy, I'm sure he'll introduce himself in a second. Big friend of the group, was a regular member with us back. Probably
years ago.
5-6 years ago when he was working more over this side of the channel. Obviously Andy will do an introduction in a second, but super experienced in the Agile and Scrum world, been a trainer for a number of years now, so I'm sure it'll be a really enjoyable interactive session, and always good to see some old faces or old familiar faces. I'm not calling you old, mate, or that you look old or anything like that. Sorry, bud. So I'm going to shut up and hand over to you, and yes, hopefully everyone enjoys the session, and we'll have a good time.
Cool, thank you, and welcome everybody. So for those who don't know me, we may have met, I don't know. I get to meet so many people now. It's kind of a bit of a blessing and a curse. So my name's Andy Howes. I'm a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org. It sounds like a bit of an AA meeting. I'm also a professional Kanban trainer with Pro Kanban, and I do other things. So it hasn't been weird couple of years, and so last year I set myself a challenge to write a book, and I started, and then I got waylaid with other things, and then kind of took a promise this year to finally get the book done. So the book is Applying Scrum with Kanban, and it is somebody said it's a bit cheesy, and I said, well, I'm sorry to say, a lot of it's based on experience and my life. So my life, according to one review of the book, is a bit cheesy, as I found out. But I've been super passionate over the last, I don't know how many years, about bringing Kanban into and applying it with Scrum. And so I want to write and create a book that was around how would somebody do that. Not just because there are tons of theoretical books out there, and there's tons of, be a Scrum Master, do Scrum. There's be a, this is Kanban and do some Kanban stuff. And I don't know, I just, there was a gap for me, which was, we can teach you all the theory, but actually, how do you go and put that in place? So the book follows a story of a lady called Katie, and Katie goes to the supermarket one night, and you remember, well, I don't know, Asda has taken them away, but Asda used to have those self-service machines. You put it on a conveyor belt, and you then spend like a good 30 minutes swearing at the machine while it refuses to scan and bag your stuff. So the story basically follows Katie getting frustrated with that, and then realizing, oh, there's some kind of weird flow stuff going on here. Hang on, what does this tell me? Back at work, there's a lot of frustration. We need to get work done, but we can't get any predictability. So that's the kind of grounding for the story, and the story picks up from there. It's called a pointless book because I make a big deal about how senseless or pointless story points are. It's kind of very less pointless. There's a lot of references to story points in there, but it's how can you get away from using story points from what they were kind of intended for into actually what metrics can we kind of put in place. So that's kind of a little bit of kind of preamble, a little bit of setup. So one of my joys of my job is I get to run the professional Scrum and Kanban course from scrum.org, which is just so much fun. We get to kind of play Kanban, but we also get to blow people's minds once you start to kind of talking about flow metrics and actually the power of flow. So you're going to kind of, this isn't part of the course. You're going to join something I've created around that. And we're going to go and explore probably a couple of the metrics. And we're going to do it interactively. So we're going to kind of welcome to kind of a mini course. Yeah, I don't know how long this is going to take. What's the time box? What's the end time box for this session?
Ideally, if we can keep it to an hour, I think, just conscious of people being on Zoom all day, just rather than,
Cool.
Do that. Be good.
The last one to fall asleep wins. Good. Right. So it will be less than an hour. It depends how passionate you get about this stuff. Right. So I'll put it in good old Zoom. Because if you joined after I posted it, you won't have the link. I'm putting a link into Zoom. Please come over to the Miro board. Best to use Chrome. Actually, I think I am actually using Safari on a Mac, so shame on me. But come into the Miro board, and because this is where we're gonna have lots of conversation. So we've got 9 people. I think we've got about 20 people on the call. So if you can make it over to the Miro board, I know you've been kind of on camera and doing worky stuff. I promise this is going to be fun.
Do you want to, just for the sake of the recording, Andy, do you want to share your screen as well with the Miro board up, just so we've got it?
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yep. Let me just, I've got the right one. That's I've got a copy of it now. Let's do this. Okay. Cool. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I tend to window my share. Okay, is that coming across okay on the share? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put you in some breakout rooms, and thank you very much for joining. I'm going to put you in some breakout rooms. Oh, by the way, shameless plug for the book. This is this is what it looks like on Amazon. So it is available as Kindle and as physical book, which is just, I have to say, oh, this is the physical book. Hang on, this one that's. Let's get a better one than that. I prefer the physical book because you've got, and I've made it in color. I don't know if you can see that, but like I've done all the little pictures in color, and for me the physical books is just so much nicer. But if you so wish, buy it in Kindle, and it's also on the Apple Store, which God, that was hell to try and get it on Apple. So don't go and buy it from Apple, because I don't even know whether I set it up right. Go to Amazon. I know we hate Amazon, but it's just life. Right, I'm going to bring everybody to me. Right, I've got a challenge for you in your breakout room. Just go and have a conversation, probably about 5 minutes or so. You're halfway through the sprint, and the sprint is 1 month. The team have already completed 4 PBIs. The developers realize that a brand new super urgent product backlog item is missing from the sprint backlog in order to fulfill the sprint goal. The product owner wants to know what the earliest date they could have the brand new super urgent product backlog item. Now, when I created this, I'm now reading it out, and I ought to have called it something sensible. Anyway, so the brand new super urgent product backlog item. I want you to have a conversation in your groups. 5 minutes, I might extend it. Let's see how many post-its go up. Get some post-its. There's a space below that. Get some post-its in there. What are you talking about when you're trying to solve this as a problem? So can you pull in extra work from the product backlog during the sprint? Is that allowed? And what extra information do you need, or would you need, or would your team need in order to explain if they can do it within the current sprint or if they can't? Okay, so what extra information would you need? Can you just randomly pull extra work in from the product backlog? That's your conversation for 5 minutes. I'm just going to recreate the breakout rooms just in case I've missed anybody. Go and meet some new people. Actually, I'm gonna give you a couple of extra minutes because you're probably going to get in there and go hello. Yeah, give you 7 minutes in total. Go and have a conversation, solve some problems, put some post-its in the area below. When you come back, I'm going to we'll have a chat. Oh, hang on, I haven't set the time on the breakout rooms. You're in there for 15.
That is classic. That's my mistake.
And what happens to the recording? Oh, Esther. How did we miss you? Oh no, you're just stuck in limbo. Jason. Oh, no, Jason's stuck in limbo as well. Right. Let me go and join some rooms. They're coming back. The conversations I heard. Welcome back, everybody. Cool. Briefly, run me through kind of some of the assumptions you were making about this.
I don't mind kicking off. So in our group, we kind of, after rereading it, well, first of all, we made the assumption that everything that was currently in the backlog was in the sprint backlog was needed to hit the sprint goal, in addition to the extra thing. Because originally we were talking about, bringing something else in and replanning something mid-sprint with 2 weeks to go is a reasonable amount of time to kind of bring something in and maybe bump some stuff out.
How do you know? How do you know it's a reasonable amount of time?
Obviously, this would be a decision that you'd make with the team, but I think 2 weeks left it gives you enough runway, I think, to, if you've got some work that hasn't been started. Well, not 100%, no. But I think the big thing that we discuss is, I think this is a prime kind of example for a potentially cancelled sprint. If we feel like it's a no-win situation, that bringing something in is needed to hit the sprint goal, and if you don't have any capacity to bring something else in, then it feels like it should be a cancelled sprint and a restart if you want to hit the sprint goal, rather than ending up getting to the end of the sprint with only 80% of it delivered or whatever. Just from a cultural standpoint, more than anything, it would make more sense to sort of stop and start again than it would to just plod along and end up with a half-baked delivery at the end of it.
Let's hear some other voices. What more information would you need in order to make this decision?
Well, first thing is to size it right with the squad.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if I was Scrum Mastering, I'd be looking at the burn down to see whether we were below the line or above the line. And I'd ask the squad to look at the burn down and see whether they felt they had capacity to bring it in.
Okay, we're getting there. Yep. What else?
Is the absence of this item going to leave the product functionally incomplete, or do you still have a working deliverable by the end of the sprint?
Well, it's a new super urgent product backlog item. I don't know. That's a question for a product owner, Dan. But great question.
For me, there's two things. The respect for the sprint goal, but like the developers uncovered this, so it's not something that it was maybe PBI 5 based on the list. So the developers uncovered it. They kind of know a little bit about it to size it, and we need to make that assessment whether it does fit the goal, and then we make the call, either abandon the sprint or respect the goal that we set out in the first place.
Okay, so I'm hearing you need more information. I mean, it's kind of, there's lots of assumptions going on. There's lots of things we don't know, but in that kind of state, we have zero transparency, right? We're just being told some information. We can't see a backlog. We can't see any state that the work's in. There's been talk about size. There's been talk about making judgment calls. It might be cancelled. We definitely need more information. So, so what if? Let me drag you over here. Let me summon. Summon is the nice way of putting it. So I'm going to throw you back into your groups again. Same groups. If you could see the Scrum board, would that help? How would this change the conversation? Can you pull an extra whip from the product backlog during the sprint? So that's still, what more information would you need? So I'm now presenting the Scrum board, right? So you've now got transparency. You can see what's going on. Right, so I'm going to put you back into breakout rooms, but a very, very short one. There's a space just below. Oh, sorry, I should be sharing.
What's the color relevancy on these, Andy? Or do we not supposed to know that yet? Or does it not matter?
Right now, it really doesn't matter.
Cool. Just as long as it wasn't sizing or shaping or something.
No. They are just different types of work. So let's say red are stuff that is for Jeff. Okay, gotcha. Green is for people called Amanda. I don't know. So they're just different types of work. No relevance, just different types of work. So back into your breakout rooms, but really, really quick conversation. So I've given you a visualization. There's a little bit of space below here. So I'm going to send you away again, same groups. Going to give you 4 minutes this time. Really focus the conversation because you would have kind of already said hello to the people in your group. Go and have a conversation. What more do you need, right? I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you a load of information now. I'm telling you it's super urgent. I'm now giving you some transparency. What more information do you need to make a decision? Come on, team. I'm getting really frustrated here. Well, we've had somebody join. I don't know who that is. Hello, you're on mute and you're with me.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Murtaza.
Oh, hi. You've joined a little bit late, but that's cool. Let me...
Yeah, you know what? I completely forgot about this. I just got alerted after... I was on a phone call, actually. So if you don't mind, I don't mind participating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Join in. Let me get you into a breakout room. We're kind of putting people into mini conversations. The other thing I'll do is I'll share in the chat. Hi, nice to see you. We are... Yeah, so we're using Miro. So if you click the link in the chat, and I'll put you into a breakout room, you can kind of try and follow the conversation, and then kind of as we grow, you can kind of pick it up if that's okay.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
You've just all you've missed in this one is just a kind of setting up kind of stuff. So
no problem.
Exploring a bit of a problem where a team have a super urgent thing to do. But I'm just kind of trying to tease people into a bit of a situation. So
no, that's perfect because I don't know much about Scrum Kanban. My organization has asked me to learn, get certified.
Oh, sweet. Okay, good. Well, you're in the right place. So
not much. Yeah,
and you can join along. Cool. Sorry, I keep pausing the recording because you don't really want 4 minutes of me, laughing and just having to edit it out. It's not fun. Cool. Welcome back, everybody. Good. It's really interesting, like the conversation shift between situation 1 and 2. You've gone all kind of like, you went, oh, kind of product backlog management, and now you've gone all like, oh, we need some more information, metrics, let's just throw all the metrics at it. So tell me about your second conversation. How did you approach it?
So the first thing that I looked at, we kind of gathered from the board, was it looks like we've got a bit of a bottleneck around test.
How do you know?
3 tickets in there and 1 sat in ready. So the question that I would have asked is, how many testers have we got in the team, and can we get the devs to get some of those cleared as well?
Yeah, I mean, how do you know there's a bottleneck? What more information?
Yeah, we had the discussion carried on then to say, well, there's nothing on the board about kind of sizes or skill sets of people, and we don't know if those 3 items in test are really small and they'll be done in 5 minutes, and that one thing in discovery is massive, or vice versa. So we don't, we can make an assumption that there's a bottleneck in test, but we still don't have enough information to really know that for sure.
But you do know from the sprint that there's 3 items in the sprint backlog. So you would have had, or you would have estimated that you've got capacity to put them through test. So for me, then the question is, this new urgent item, where does it sit? What's the priority?
Well, so it's super
higher.
Urgent.
Yeah, but is everything else urgent?
But it's super urgent. I don't know what more I can say. There's nothing more. There's nothing more. Yeah. I mean, you could have epic urgent. I don't know. It's super urgent.
Okay,
drop your logical
number 1. What's that?
Cool. So you're falling into the trap very slowly, which is good, so keep asking the questions. Right, so you've put WIP limits on there. So funnily enough, I got to share again, sorry, I got to remember to do this. Portion of the screen where your brains are going is absolutely bang on, right? It's all the questions you should be asking. Sorry, I'm just trying to talk and do something at the same time, which seems impossible for my brain. So where you are going in your brains is exactly where you should be going. What are the strategies we have at play that we can use in order to make a better decision here? Which is why I keep saying, what more information do you need? And you're kind of getting there. You're saying the right things. Now somebody's put WIP limits, so which is great. Oh, sorry for the jumpy around. Right, I'm trying to find the reveal. Wait, let's get rid of that. Because funnily enough, it's almost like a magic show. I predicted that WIP limits would come up, funnily enough. Right, so we're going to have a little conversation here. I'm not going to send you away. I'm going to have a little conversation here. So I've added some WIP limits to this board. Would that change the conversation? What would you say? I've still got the product owner saying, I need this super urgent thing.
Well, we're saying we have capacity for a discovery. That's what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, the WIP limits I see, in theory, yes, we could put it in, but it doesn't help us potentially work out whether we can deliver the super important PBI as well as the other 3 things and that are in the backlog, and the 5-6 things that are in progress at the moment. So I still can't tell you whether we can do everything that's here until you give me some information on relative sizes or something like that.
Wow. Okay, so they're all the same size. Does that help you?
No. Thanks, and
If you tell us what that size is, and
give us the estimation.
What do you mean by size? So when you say size, what do you mean? I'm telling you they're all the same size. But what are you asking for?
Well, if you tell me they're all the same size, then I'm going to ask, because you'll be counting stories then, which is a good practice if you can. But then I need to know how many stories, if they are all the same size, that you can typically complete in a sprint.
Hang on, so we're 2 weeks into a 4-week sprint. if we're saying they're all the same size, we aren't going to get it delivered because we've only got 4 across the line halfway through. Are we realistically going to get the remainder of that across the line in the next 2 weeks if they're all the same size?
Yeah, it might only take an hour to get from discovery to release. You don't know that. You don't know what the flow state is. We need to know the flow of and the cycle time of what it's going to take to get through the system.
But we sprint planned, right? So we plan to capacity.
Yeah, because it might be that things take the longest in one of those phases or something.
Let's slow this conversation down, because not everybody's familiar with cycle time. Not everybody's familiar with where James was going with throughput. Not everyone's familiar with sizing. We're just going to slow. Sorry, Murtaza, if I say your name.
Yeah, that's fine. No one's going to get it 100% correct, but that's fine. So that's interesting. Because I work in Kanban at the moment, so advanced Kanban. So if we can't use those terminologies, it'll be nice to know the average engineering time. The average engineering time may also help. Average engineering time, meaning how long does it take to develop something? How long is it in the build phase, I guess?
Yep. So
understanding as to how long it will take to deliver. Because
so for those who are unfamiliar, it's almost like I kind of predicted this would happen. So in Kanban, right, there's only a few things we need to worry about. One is visualization. Okay, Kanban from my perspective is a strategy to manage the flow of work, a kind of visual strategy to manage the flow of work to deliver value. Right, that is Kanban. It's a strategy. So once you start thinking of it like a strategy, it's a bit more like a game. So all of the conversations. So I've got my little 8-year-old Charlie. You right, bud? Nope. Okay. So he's fine. He hasn't said anything, so he must be fine. So it's a strategy to manage value. So we're looking at the kind of visualization. We need that level of transparency. You kind of see where we've gone along this path. Is I've kind of poked and prodded some of the kind of like Scrum badness that happens, right? The other thing that I kind of poked at you that you kind of fell into the trap is, we got, WIP must be the answer to this, right? But everything you've said is kind of WIP related, but it's not really kind of what you want. I'm hearing kind of like we need more understanding of time. And this is where the kind of everyone's kind of coming in and saying, oh, we need an understanding of throughput and we need an understanding of cycle time. Now, one of the key things for me within Kanban is this idea of actively managing the work in progress. So this is around the conversations we wish to have, and this is the whole purpose of this kind of exercise. What conversations do we need to have about the work in order for us to maximize the value that we deliver? Okay, so the fourth one from a Scrum or Kanban point of view, we talk about inspecting and adapting the workflow. This is not that session. Okay, so we're purely talking about the active management of work in progress. So you may or may not have come across this kind of idea of adding dots, per day, to understand how long it takes for work to progress. So, I can put some arbitrary dots on this to highlight, this is how long things take. All right. So we now have some empirical data that we can go back on and say, okay, well, look, these things, regardless of size, these could have been wildly different sizes. Okay. And we'll briefly talk about sizing in a minute, but these could have been wildly different sizes. It really doesn't matter. The fact is now we've got some empirical data. So we know kind of this one took 4 and this one took 6. And, currently this one's sitting at 2, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if we have that kind of data as we build up, we can start to make slightly different decisions about the work. Remember, the whole setup for this is you had a month and you were 2 weeks into that month. The super urgent thing comes through. So we need to be able to make a judgment call about whether it's possible for that thing to get through to the end. And what more information do we need? Well, we need a level of transparency, but not just the board. WIP limits, can help us make that decision. If we put the WIP limits back on, we saw that test was slightly over capacity. Now, that may have been the decision they wanted to make. We don't know. But certainly, the more things you add, the slower your process gets. So we need to kind of balance out and figure all of these things out. Now, one way to approach this is, I'm going to reveal this, is to get this notion of cycle time. And it won't, again, none of this is going to be unfamiliar to you. Sorry, that's the thing I was holding before I joined this call. None of this is going to be unfamiliar to you. You will probably be already kind of capturing these metrics. I remember years ago, people saying, "Oh, put a dot on a card. You know, that gives you loads of good stuff." It's like, yeah, I put loads of dots, but actually, what the hell do I do with it? It tells me very little, apart from I've now got a post-it with a bunch of dots on it, and I knew how long that took. Once we actually start to collate that data, it gets very, very, very interesting. And there is a by the way, sorry, cycle time is calculated from the point at which work is considered to have started and when work is considered to have been complete. Now, from a Scrum point of view, that could be between sprint backlog and done, and varying degrees of activities within your development process, right? But that's our measure of cycle time. It really is how long things have taken, and different things can take different times. And the biggest lesson of all is depending on how the team act, will dictate how long things take. Right, so you could have something that, look, from a sizing point of view, was gigantic, but if everybody focuses on it and gets it done, it may fly through a hell of a lot quicker than your average thing that you're doing, right? So size kind of doesn't really matter in these kind of contexts. It really truly is how you deal with the work. We'll kind of explain some of that in a little bit more detail. So the fact somebody's coming with a super important PBI, we need more information about, okay, so what's going on in our system and how long does work typically take to go through our system? Then we can make a judgment call. We don't really need to know its size yet. We can just have a look at our empirical data. So there's I've lost the plot off there. Or maybe I didn't write it on. Something to fix. This is a cycle time scatter plot. There are many ways of generating it. This is not one that relates to the one above, by the way. So if anyone goes and says, "Oh no, you've got the calculations wrong," this is purely one of the things I created for my book, just as a way of explaining it. And a cycle time scatter plot is really, really simple. It is dots when work completes, how long they took to complete, and at what point in your calendar they completed. Right. So day one, day 10, whatever that looks like, we did 2 things, and one took 1 day, one took 2 days. Right. And then the next day we did something, and it had already taken 3 days to complete, etc., etc. We start to build up these weird little patterns. Okay, and we're kind of going, okay, that's kind of cool. So we've got some dots on cards. Our post-its are now really messy, and we've got a scatter plot which is really messy as well. What the hell can we do with it? We can do this lovely thing called generate an SLE. Now, an SLE allows us a level of forecasting that you may have heard of and may not be familiar or comfortable using, but it is our best way of forecasting when something is likely to have been complete. Now, let me explain it in a little bit more detail. So if you create your cycle time scatter plot, so just plotting the time, how long things took and when they were complete, over a period of time, it is up to you and when you choose, right? And you could get into the whole, yes, you can fix data to look better or worse. It is, yes, all data can be manipulated. But we could take an average team over a couple of sprints and just plot their cycle time in here. Now you can generate a level of risk. And this is the thing about the cycle time scatter plot. It is a conversation about risk. How much risk are you willing to accept as a stakeholder, as a product owner, or how much risk are you willing to commit to as part of the development team in order to get work done? So when we look at our cycle time scatter plot, we can say 50% of the items within our time range that we're looking at completed within 2 days or less. So if somebody says, I've got this super urgent priority thing, when can I have it? Well, 50% of the items that we do complete within 2 days and less. So you're most likely to get it, if you want to toss a coin and take a 50% risk, you're going to get it in 2 days or less. Or if we give you a little bit more certainty, so maybe 85, we could say, well, 85% of our items complete within 3 days or less. Are you willing to wait that long? Is that such a big deal? Is that such a horrible thing to wait? Right. If you want more certainty, right, so that's a 15% risk. If you want more certainty, we could probably go up here and say, well, look, 95% of our items plus complete within 6 days or less. That's when you're going to get your thing. So we now have some empirical data that's been generated by the team. Some of these items, right, have got high numbers over here. Some of them are really low. Right? You could look back and say, okay, this was actually, you know, that thing we thought would take a year and it took us a day, right? Because it came through as that super urgent thing that we needed to do. We all jumped on it. We, you know, kicked the doors down. It got done, you know, or, you know, this one here could be the super urgent one. And as a result, because we added more WIP, everything else got stuck, right? Because we kind of subconsciously deprioritized everything on our board. We didn't work on anything else. Therefore, everything took a little bit longer. Now, this is the power of just adding dots, just creating a cycle time scatter plot and creating an SLE. Now, our SLE becomes really super powerful. We talk about size. So there's only one mention in the Scrum Guide about size. And it says when an item is ready, it can be brought into the sprint. Right? So your sprint length is dictated by the team, right? So you have sprint length of a month. So every item that comes into your sprint backlog should be less than a month. That's what the Scrum Guide says. We now have a different version of that. Every item that comes into our team should be able to be completed within 3 days or less. So when we're looking at size, we don't need story points. Can we complete it within 3 days? Can we please that product owner if they come along? Can it be completed within 6 days, 8 days, 10 days, 12 days, whatever your cycle time is for your team? We've now got a different metric. We don't need to size it, right? We can refine it. By refining, we'll probably bring the size down, but we don't need to go and story point it. Okay. So I can't remember what's next. So, oh, yes, here we go. So now you know the SLE for a single item. Is it possible you can now complete the new super urgent item, product backlog item within the sprint? So we've now calculated our SLE. I'm going to throw you back into your groups to have a conversation about this. What have I just kind of bamboozled you with, right? So just putting dots on, shouldn't be that bamboozling, putting dots on, creating a cycle time scatter plot, giving a kind of an SLE and a forecast. We've now got a different way of having a conversation with a product team without having to make all these assumptions about how we're working. Yes, WIP limits are missing from this diagram. If you know, I totally get it, but that's not the purpose if you want to go down that route, okay? Right, so WIP limits will be impacting, absolutely. You know, is it possible? What would you say? Okay, that's the topic of conversation I want you to go and have. So I'm going to give you a little bit longer. I'm going to give you 5 minutes on this one. And when you come back, we will have a bit of a kind of wash up and close out. I hope, if that's what I've planned. It's going to be a surprise for me. Oh, I forgot to assign you again. Hang on, let me get you across. Sorry. Did that make sense? Were you able to follow that? Was that, yeah?
Yeah. Of course. Okay. It's kind of new, but makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to put you into the team. Go and have a conversation, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Cool, no problem.
Right, let's stop sharing and let's go into
discussion.
I didn't mean to mute everybody. If I did, I'm sorry.
That's probably my Zoom settings. So every time you come out of a break room, you don't get the tail end of everyone's convos.
Okay, good setting. I haven't done that one yet. Yeah, I usually get somebody going, oh, I can't finish. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, so some really interesting conversation. I joined in. Anybody want to kind of relay their approach and kind of, again, what more information you may have needed, but what's the kind of overall feeling with this one?
So we had a really interesting conversation in our group. So we all agreed that using the SLE, we believe we can get that super important PBI done, right? So happy with that. The bit that we fell over on was, can we still deliver the sprint goal? We don't have enough, to my mind, we don't have enough information about the work that's in there and whether taking something out breaks the sprint goal or not.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still more to do here, and this is purpose of this session. You know, actively managing the work items in progress. You have to have a conversation. There's obviously only so much I can do within kind of an hour or less, right? There is so much more to this what I wanted to do in this session is just tease you into that and provide you with something that you can take away and go, oh yeah, okay, but there's still more. You know, you've got to look at if and when you join a professional Scrum or Kanban class from Scrum.org, hopefully you'll join one of mine, but we talk about using Monte Carlo simulations in order to take throughput, to actually do some level of forecasting. As was it Darren? Let me get to gallery view and then I can find who it was. So I was in the room with Aled and Darren and a few others. I think it was Darren brought up the use of Little's law, which absolutely applies in this situation. We have to be using kind of like cumulative flow diagrams, and there's the super secret one of age, etc., that we kind of need to pull all of those things in to have so we can kind of say with some percentage of risk we're going to get it done, right? But there's always going to be an impact to everything else. And I think this is where Alid was saying is like, okay, that's cool, but how do I demonstrate that impact? Now, one of the places you can demonstrate it is in the cycle time scatter plot, because the impact will be in the outliers. So all of your dots would have moved up, right? The ones you've done. But there are still other things, other tools that we can utilize to have the conversation with the product owner about, should we be doing this thing next?
Just having it visualized, I think, is a massive benefit when you have those conversations. Because we were talking about how, traditional project management, it was always stakeholders want, and they don't see the consequences or the cause and effect of introducing new work into a system. And I think even just being able to go in and show them, yep, you can have this right to the very top, but as you can see, everything else moves down, and it might mean that last thing on the list is going to be out of the sprint or out of this current period or whatever it is. So even just visualizing it without using anything else, I think is a massive benefit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is the thing, it goes back to that, as I said, the book's all full of cheesy stories, but the story about somebody telling me to put dots on a card and going, that's really cool, but after a while you're going, why? And I couldn't explain it to the developers on the team. Why do we put dots on? I don't know. Somebody told me it was a good idea, right? And then when you start to go, oh, we can put it in this graph, and actually we can calculate something that we can forecast a percentage that we're going to do it this way, and we can have a conversation about those kind of outliers. Okay, that's a different retrospective conversation. Again, going back to kind of Alid, just drawing these tools in for retrospectives is just incredibly powerful. So there you go. And the story doesn't end there, but it does for us tonight. So, you lot have to go back to your workplaces and do this for real. I get to go and do some wallpapering or whatever I'm doing tomorrow. I don't know, fitting radiators in the coldest day of the year. Well, that's lucky me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this kind of a little bit of a whirlwindy tool, but I wanted to make it interactive. I wanted to make it a little bit fun. I wanted you to kind of get the feel for, if you came on a course, this is the kind of conversation we would have. And genuinely, I don't make a lot of, when Amazon sell the book, I make bugger all. But the thing is, I didn't write the book to be a billionaire. I wrote the book to provide knowledge, and I wrote the book to help people understand this stuff and actually, like the title says, actually apply it. You could not go wrong. I don't know what the saying is, but I like it. It's a good book. Everybody else who's read it likes it's a good book, but it is genuinely going to help you with all of these conversations. There's my big pitch sell. You can see how uncomfortable I am at selling stuff. I just don't like doing it. But the only reason I say it is I think it's really going to help people, and that's all I can say about it. It's going to take you from kind of, okay, I see where this is going, to, oh, okay, this is how you put it in place. So yeah.
Thank you, mate. We'll put the link on the meetup page, just in the comments, if anyone wants to go and buy the book after. So maybe you can send that to me and we'll put it in.
We'll do.
Andy, if anyone wants to book any training sessions with you on this sort of stuff, how do they go about that, please?
Oh, get in contact with me on LinkedIn, because I go through a whole lot of resellers, and I very rarely do publics. I ought to do more publics, but yeah, just get in contact and we'll figure out. Do a lot of private stuff as well. So if you're kind of interested in stuff for your team, which is great when you take a whole team through it, then you can all go back and apply it. Just drop me a line through LinkedIn and we can get that, I'm guessing, on the Zoom call and details out there.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for that, Andy, tonight. Really, really useful. I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did as well. As I said, we'll be in touch ASAP now we'll try and get the next 3 events scheduled in Meetup so you can see them coming up. As I said, hopefully we'll see you all in the flesh, maybe in December, and then we'll try and get some stuff in for the new year. But yeah, really good to see everyone tonight. And
I just want to say a big thank you for me for being, being interactive, joining in, questions. No, really good. Thank you very much.